Welcome to Detoxicity, a podcast by men, about men, and for everyone. My name is Mike Joseph. I created this show back in 2020 with the design to create an alternate, or maybe not even an alternate, a wider picture of what masculinity means. And the way we do that on the show is by storytelling, the sharing of people's lives. Each episode contains an interview with a different person, and I brought some folks back two, three, or even four times to expand on their stories. But we're really talking about becoming the best possible version of ourselves, whatever that entails. And sometimes we tell the stories with humor. Sometimes the stories are sad. Sometimes the stories might be a little difficult to listen to, as I'm sure they're difficult for my guests to speak about. But the end goal of these stories, the end goal of these episodes, the end goal of this podcast is always to create a version of masculinity that is inclusive of vulnerability, inclusive of personal growth, inclusive of all things that are good. There's been a lot of talk recently about toxic masculinity, and there's a part of me that almost regrets naming the podcast Detoxicity because masculinity, in and of itself, is not toxic. The way that many of us have been socialized over the years, the way it is practiced, and toxic masculinity is not only practiced by men, um, the way that these traits that are not exclusive to men, but are generally ascribed to men that are toxic, need to be addressed and need to be changed. And that is what I intend to do with this show. Again, we've been going since 2020, so 5 years, 200 episodes, and I think we're just skimming the surface of what this podcast and what the people who come on this show and are so open and so vulnerable and honest can do. I thank you very much for listening. If you want to follow me on social media, I am on Instagram at detoxpodguy. You can follow my Substack, mikejoseph.substack.com. You can also subscribe to my Patreon. Doing this podcast does cost money, and I'm probably taking a loss on this, but that's fine. If you want to chip in a couple of bucks, you can subscribe for as little as $3 a month, and you get episodes a week early. That is detoxpod.patreon.com or bit.ly/detoxpod plus. I really, really appreciate you listening. I hope you get something from whatever episode you happen to be listening to at any given time. And I hope that you go on to take care of yourself and take care of the people around you. Hey y'all, so in this episode, I am having a conversation with my good friend Tyrie McKinnie. Ty is an amazing human being. He is a singer songwriter. He released his album called Tyrie last December. It is really good. I hope that you listen to it. And this is his second appearance on the Detoxicity podcast. And what do we cover? We talk a lot about music and the creative process and what inspired Ty to write and record this album. Um, we talk about him being kind of a sort of show busy kind of kid, doing everything from acting to music, and what that looks like these days as he's now thinking about trying to get back into the acting sphere. Um, we talk about, just kind of like living day to day as we are under our current administration and how we are kind of managing that stress and leaning into community. Representation is a big deal um, for, particularly for, I mean, for me and for Tyrie. Tyrie, as a gay man of color, tries to reflect that experience through his music and has done so without a lot of role models. Um, he's significantly. He's reasonably younger than I am, and I came from an era where there were no role models. There weren't that many that came out between my time and his time, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We talk about joy as resistance, which is really important. We celebrate the trans community and their pivotal role in the gay pride revolution. It's just it's there's a lot we talk about, and it was such a healing conversation to take place. We recorded this on a Sunday afternoon, and I'm not gonna lie, it felt a little bit like service. So, everybody, here is Tyrie McKinney, my friend.
Hi, my name is Ty McKinnie. I am a Black, gay, singer-songwriter, music industry professional, sometimes actor, human being, trying to figure this thing called life out. And I'm here.
So hold up a second. I don't think I knew about the actor part.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wait, now it's coming back to me a little bit. Do you read for roles and stuff, or was it
Not
just like,
currently, not
okay,
currently. I'm in the beginning processes of going back to that life. But when I was younger, like in middle school, I was auditioning for things and in Atlanta trying to get into that world. I remember auditioned for a Nickelodeon show. Didn't get anywhere to like the final stages, but I at least not interviewed. Well, that's what an audition is, but I at least auditioned
basically?
for a Nickelodeon show. I did a lot of background work. So for those who are listening, background work is extra work. So background actors being in like in a high school setting, being one of the high school kids, or being in a party, could be somebody drinking or something like that. There's a scene of the CW show The Vampire Diaries, which I'm a huge fan of, but I got to be a background actor for the season 3 premiere, and I'm cheering on somebody doing a cake stand. And I'm one of the only black people in that scene, and I'm short, so you can easily identify me. But me and my mom were so happy about that because I've done background work since I was literally a preteen. And I only was ever in like the big scenes, like all the kids in one area, so you never could really point me out. And that
Sure.
was the first thing where I could like show people that's me, and the people would see it. And at the time, The Vampire Diaries was like the biggest show on the CW network amongst like teen dramas and everything. It was giving MTV, and all the channels a run for their money. And I actually loved the show. So it was like I loved the show, I'm on the show, and also they were filming it close to where I lived.
Oh
So it
wow.
wasn't even far to get to. So it was like, oh, this is dope. This is amazing. I just want to live here. So yeah, I did that for a lot of my high school years, college years, a little bit of post college. Actually, there's this one movie called Pastor Brown. It was I think a Lifetime movie that went straight to DVD. I only got a couple times that it aired, but my mom was in the scene with me too.
Oh
Because
wow.
she did some background work with me, and we are actually in a scene together, and we're in the movie, and it's basically one of the preacher scenes. The movie has like all the people. It was Michael B. Jordan before he was Michael B. Jordan. He was the
Wow.
main character's son. So, and it's so funny because seeing him blow up and everything is just so crazy. Because I was like, I remember seeing this guy, and he's like 5 years older than me, but he looks like somebody I went to high school with. And then like
Right.
to see him doing the movie Sinners now and all the Black Panther movies and Creed and stuff like that. It's like, wow, he really, is doing the thing.
Michael
But
B.
yeah, I
Jordan
remember
hit the glow up.
he hit really he did. That's also another thing. I'm like, oh yeah, when he glowed up, I was like, oh, this is so interesting because I knew of you beforehand, and even my
Right.
mom did because he was in soap operas and stuff like that, and The Wire. So it's like I know this person from that era, and then to see him all jacked and everything, and have all my female and male friends fondle when like, oh my God, it's Michael B. Jordan. I'm just like, this is Michael B. Jordan. Like he's not handsome. It's just that I have this different lens of him, which
Sure.
I get now when the teen actors and stuff they mature and become adults. It's like, oh, this is weird. They're not like a kid, so of course you can say they're attractive and stuff like
Right.
that. But just I have this image of when I first met them
Right.
that's kind of stuck in my head. But no, I can say Michael B. Jordan is very attractive and
He's a
handsome.
very good looking gentleman.
He's a very good looking gentleman. It was just for me when he started to really you know, bulk up and everything. It was like, oh, this is interesting. This is very interesting transformation. But yeah, so that's actually somewhere on somebody's streamer because my mom, she was watching it a few months ago. She's like, look at us. And there's a scene where I have little twists, like little mini dreads in my head because I had all the hairstyles at one point. But I had to be a high school junior, I think, at that time. So we were in the front row in the church in Atlanta, and yeah, I was doing that type of work. I did some stand-in work on Being Mary Jane, that show with Gabrielle Union for season 2. I was a stand-in for a child, which is hilarious because that's how short I am. And I didn't know that until I saw the episode, and I was like, oh, I was a standing in for a child.
Do they require a similarity to the person that you're standing in for if you're
Yes.
do Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yes. So it's a skin color, it's height, it's hairstyle. And at the time I had a little afro, like TWA for, black folks to know that what that is. And I think because my arm wingspan is just short, so I think it was just like that's the best they could do, and also child labor law, so you can't have a child
Right.
doing an overnight shoot because I was doing an overnight shoot.
Right.
So they had to get the blocking everything for the shot, even though we were just kind of sitting down. And there was another person, another adult, she was also very short, who played the other kid. So it was very funny. I was like,
Okay.
we're grown people playing kids because we're
I
just
just
short.
learned something new about the television and movie industry.
It's a whole thing. But I took a detour from the acting world just because I was hitting a wall of as far as wanting to own or not own, having more autonomy over my creativity.
Mm,
Whereas as an actor, you're basically in someone else's world. You're a plaything. You're a puppet in their world. You can take the character that you're, performing in your own shape and stuff like that, but there's still a little bit of rigidity where it's like, hey, the director, whoever it is, wants you to do this. And also the thing was I was doing a lot of student films and short films and stuff like that. And some of the stuff never saw the light of day.
sure.
And I got real sick of that because I'm like, look, I'm trying to build a professional resume and reel for those who are in the entertainment world, what an actor's reel is. And I'm like, I have nothing to really show from my work because things aren't really getting released at all.
Mm,
Similar to recording versions of an album that never will get released because the label doesn't approve it of the final product. So it's like I'm constantly creating, but nothing to show for it. And I got sick and tired of that shit. So and I was already kind of pivoting to music, and music was definitely the first love, but acting was, I think, the more from my mom and my family's sort of standpoint of like the stronger skill. So it wasn't that I couldn't sing or dance; it was just that I have, I guess, more personality to be a comedy actor or something like that to my family. So did that I was doing that first, but then I was like, no, I really want to do music because I love singing and I really wanted to learn to play guitar. So during college, that's where the pivoting from acting to music was kind of taking place because even my family still asks me to this day, are you auditioning up there in New York? Are you doing anything? I was like, y'all, auditioning is a whole job.
it is.
I don't have the time span of bandwidth, time span, all that stuff to really do that. But I've been hearing the universal like you need to get back into it. You need to do it. It's
Well,
been little voices. Like I had a random conversation with a cashier at Trader Joe's and he was asking what I did. And I was like, oh, I work in the entertainment industry. And he was like, are you an actor? Because you have a voice for an actor. And I was just like, oh, I did some acting when I was younger. So, so it's just very interesting. It's like, yeah, you keep up with that. And I was like, okay, all right, all right. And one of my best friends, she's hounding me to get back into acting. She's like, I'm telling you, man, you got to get back into that acting where that's how everything's going to blow up. And I'm like, okay, if you say so. And she's very smart. She's and believe and trust and honor Black women. So I'm like, all right, I will do that when I feel the urge to do so. So it's happening. But yeah,
sometimes people see things that you don't.
yeah. And for me, it was definitely the belief in myself that I still struggle with, and we can actually delve more deeper into that, how it ties into the detoxicity space. But believing in myself has always been such a Ah, ebb and flow. There's moments in my life or time periods in my life where I was just like, I know I'm the shit. Can't tell me I'm not the shit. Because when I was a teenager, I thought I was going to be a Disney Channel kid, Nickelodeon kid. You couldn't tell me I was not as talented as them. I just needed the opportunity.
Sure.
And then when I had auditions and did not get that opportunity, now obviously I aged out because I became more a young adult. It was like, oh crap. So am I not talented? Am I not good enough? And then going to college and then being immersed into other spaces where other talented young adults, kids, whatever you want to call us, at that age, like, oh, they're talented too. So I had this removal of where, like, if I'm auditioning with like a million other kids, of course, they're going to pick, whoever they're going to pick. But seeing the actual competition, quote unquote, in your face in these acting classes and in these productions, I did acting and I did college productions and whatnot throughout college. And I'm like, oh, shoot, they talented too. So a little bit of self doubt, a little bit of insecurity. Actually, not a lot. I mean, a lot, and then grappling with that. So I just kind of like fell into the music space where because it just felt like something that I could control one, but also just really be myself in. And for me, also, I felt like as an actor, I was hitting that wall where I felt like I wasn't believable as an actor because I just felt like I was doing what I was told and not finding the truth of the character and stuff
Mhm.
like that and finding myself in that character because also at the time I still needed to find myself. I was dealing with being in the closet and really coming of age, because I would say I had a delayed coming of age. I didn't come of age in high school. It was pretty much towards the middle of college to right around the time that I moved to New York. It was that 4 year, like from 20 to 24, where I felt like I was like actually having a coming of age sort of experience. And I was like, oh, this is who I am. This is this person who I portrayed myself to be is a part of me, but that's not all of me at all. That is literally just the tip of the iceberg. So yeah, I had a lot of developmental stuff, and I'm still, of course, developing as we all are as humans.
So we
But
all are.
I noticed that I couldn't play parts because it just felt very stale. Like I just was like doing the actor things. I was like, I'm going to project here and I'm going to do this here and act like I'm an actor's actor. And I'm like, you're not really playing the part. You're just doing what you think you should be doing instead of finding the nuances of the human in the character.
Right.
And for me, I was like, I really can't honestly play that because I've never experienced that. And there's only so much acting you can do from like imagination space. It's just limited. You kind of have to live. Same thing with music. I mean, I could write, oh, I love this guy, or this guy broke my heart, or I'm sleeping around, because that's so easy to write about. But then after a while, it's going to be redundant and it just feels very stale. So you have
You
to do a
feel
little bit
it.
more living. You feel
As a
it.
listener, you feel it
Yeah.
when something's not coming from a very sincere place.
Yeah. So you have to live. You have to live. So I
Yes.
felt like I needed to do some living. And then in that space, I pivoted to creating music to kind of document in that process and also train.
Okay. You gave me so many little tidbits that I want to explore more of,
Sure.
but I want to go dig a little deeper into Ty McKinnie as a musician. So you released an album at the end of last year.
Yes.
I was at your album release event, which was
You
such a great
were.
event. And I don't even remember if I told this to you. It was like middle of December.
Hmm.
So 6 weeks after the election, all that heaviness is still very much in the air.
Hmm.
And it was also your birthday.
Yes, it was my birthday.
So it's your birthday and your album release party. And I remember at the end of it, everybody sang Feliz Navidad.
Hmm.
And I felt so good after that. Like I walked home and I was just like singing Feliz Navidad to myself. And it just felt like such a naturally warm moment. So thank you, first of all, for creating that moment, putting it into the world, but also listening to your album. There is so much that is very clearly autobiographical and struggle with like, do I feel the sincerity of it because I know you and I know some of your story? Would I feel that if I didn't know you? And I think I would. But to relate to something that you just said, you have a song called Late Bloomer. And I wonder how that ties in to you feeling like you didn't really come into yourself until you were in your early 20s.
Oh yeah, I think that is still the favorite song of the album for me.
Okay.
Um, just because just how it took shape and everything. That song in particular is the first song on the album because I feel like it sets the tone of what the story is about to be as far as subject matter and the sort of second adolescence coming of age type of thing. Because I've been working on this project for about 4 to 5 years.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was going to come out in 2020, and then 2020
And then the
happened,
world ended.
and then the world ended because it
Yeah.
really did. To be quite honest with you, but the world ended, so I had to do a lot of regroup and just of self, not even just of the music, but just like, what are we doing? What's going on? God help me! But with that song in particular, I remember wanting to write something about that feeling because I'm not the only person who's felt that. You don't even have to be queer to have that sort of feeling of feeling you're left behind or you're not really where your friends are. I've heard that sentiment from peers, both queer and straight. So it was kind of hitting me on the head. People were telling me that they felt the same way. And I was like, okay, I want to write about this because I've always felt this way. So I was like, how do I put this into words? And at first, when I was writing it back in like 2020, it had a different title. It was called Act My Age. And it was basically a sassy sort of like take of like, even though at the time of how old I was, how old was that 5 years ago? I'm 32, 33. Like,
Math. Math
I really
time.
have to do the math just right now. I know it's late 20s, but the pandemic really just my age. I don't feel like the way how old I am. I don't feel that way,
I
but my
get it.
body does. My mind doesn't. But I was in my late 20s basically, and I was just like how I felt the perception of like in your late 20s, you should feel a little bit more like you know who you are, and you shouldn't be acting out, or you shouldn't be promiscuous and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I don't want to act my age. That's the original idea that happened.
Right.
I'm still figuring shit out. And then I was living in Brooklyn and Bushwick at the time, and I was walking to the train, and I actually saw the phrase "late bloomer," and I was like, "Huh." And then the chorus actually literally came to mind after I saw it. I was like, "Oh, late bloomer." And I remembered my dad, he would call me a late bloomer as I was growing up as a kid because I always felt insecure about how my friends, my peers, they were starting to date or having crushes and, they didn't find girls icky anymore. And I was just kind of like, well, no girl likes me. And deep down, I was like, I don't really like them either, but there's this
Mm.
boy that I'm very crazy about. But he was like, you're just a late bloomer. You just do things at your own pace. And that conversation of when I had to be a middle schooler came to mind. I was like, my daddy says I'm just a late bloomer. I just do things at my own pace. Like I literally said that and voice memoed it. And then I just kind of kept it and was like, I'll get back to that later. And then started messing around with the song a few weeks later. I actually had some artist buddies. I was like, I wanted to be a very black and queer narrative just because there's that trope of the late bloomer and the wildflower that blooms and all that stuff.
Sure.
That narrative has already been painted, but in my writing, I very much wanted to be very black and queer. Like this is a black queer narrative because we don't really have that in the masses. Like we're here, but as far as in the pop culture landscape, not that much. And so I was very intentional. I was like, I want black and queer people to help me write this song. Like I can write it, but I would like to hear other people. So I had two artist buddies who actually were also neighbors at the time, and we were working on it.
Convenient.
Convenient, very convenient. One of them
Yeah.
was actually in the Chill video. Avery, he's the one who kind of gave me the chords for the like I had the melody, but he mapped it out on the piano, and I was like, okay, now I know what the chords are, so I can play it on guitar and stuff like that. And Kyrie, the other person in the writing session, he kind of helped me with the first verse a little bit. So yeah, we were writing it and it just didn't feel like it was finished, but it had like, a good idea. And then I took it to my buddy Carrington Kelso, who is also a writer and songwriter. He's from Atlanta too. So we had this like weird twin thing going
Mm.
on because we're like 11 months apart. He's born on the January 19th. I'm on December 19th. We both are black gay dudes who play guitar, don't sing in the R&B structure, or we're both like in this weird pop alternative space. So like, we had like this we see each other kind of thing, and took it to him, and he was just like, I didn't have a second verse at the time. He was like, you need a second verse, you need a second verse, and we were trying to map it out, and I was like, okay, I'll come back to it. And then it finally kind of clicked. And I was having these like motifs of just like, why do we feel like we're late bloomers, and figuring out who we are and coming into our sexuality, coming into like, or not even coming into our queerness, but what is that? Like, how do you exhibit your queerness? Is having that kind of conversation. And then it really clicked when I worked with Yanni Blue, who you introduced me to. Very
He's a
talented
great,
guy,
great human being.
a great human being. But I had reached out to him because once you had made the connection for us, I was like, yeah, so we need to meet. We need to do something. And I was like, hey, I would like to write with you. I have the song that I feel like you could help with. And I have the idea. It's basically 90% finished. I'm not feeling confident in it yet.
Mm.
And so we had met up. I think we had coffee or something like that. And we're just getting to know each other, and then having that conversation about like being a late bloomer, what does that mean? And then we ended up having the writing session about a week or two later, and we come up with the second verse. He comes up with the melody scan that, and it's so funny because he was like, man, it sounds a little too country. I was like, well, I'm from the South, so it's not bad.
Right.
I don't mind doing it. He's like, for real? I was like, yeah, no, let's go. And so I'm just like, because he came up with the melody, na 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 na, and I was like, okay, let's do it, let's do it. And then so I came up with the navigating these twists and turns, or I'm doing my best to give a serve because for me, it was like, if I'm going to be gay, I'd at least want to be like, yes, I'm gay, I'm serving, I'm giving the girls, I'm gagging them, and all that stuff. And doing my best to give a serve, because it painted the picture of I'm trying, but I feel like I'm failing as a gay because, or the stereotypical gay, because there's just some things that I don't necessarily do or watch or wear. I just feel like I'm very simple, ordinary, whatever you want to call it, minimalistic, and not just in appearance, but just some things like I love Broadway. Like I know I'm a good gay there, but I wouldn't call myself a theater gay because I know theater gays and they're just immersed in that world, whether they are Broadway performers or not. where I'm just like, okay. And then when it comes to pop music, I love pop music, but there's stands who they stand their artists, and I'm like, I have favorites. I have a high respect for all artists who are exceptionally talented and are doing well, but I'm not losing my shit over them.
Ty, that just means you're not crazy
That too.
or not someone who is deeply in love with someone that does not love them back.
Yeah. Yeah, I also noticed that part too. But
Yeah,
I was basically with the whole serving thing, it was like, I don't know if I'm doing this right, and wanting to paint that picture too, because when it comes to black male queerness, it feels like it's a very, very tight binary. You're either super femme or you're super trade, DL looking or mask presenting, and there's not a space, or a space hasn't really been carved out for anything in between to be popularized. It's like
right.
you have to be one end or the other, or it
I
feels that way.
This actually is very similar to the conversation I had with Yanni the other day. And, I come from a different generation than you do.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, and I was on a message board yesterday for Gen X people, essentially,
Hmm.
talking about the band Green Day and how Billy Joe Armstrong, who's the lead singer of Green Day, was the first openly queer male in pop culture that I felt any sort of identification with. Because prior to Billy Joe admitting that he was bisexual, which went over everybody's head.
Yeah, it still goes over my head sometimes. I'm
Yeah,
like, oh God, you are.
yeah. But before Billy Joe, there was Elton John, who no, I mean, I love Elton John, but have no relation to whatsoever.
Hmm.
He's 40 years or 35 years older than me and British,
Hmm.
you know, or there was Boy George or people who were like super femme presenting. The only queer male black artist that I remember from my childhood was Sylvester. And
Mm.
Sylvester was also, again, very femme or non binary presenting. And Sylvester was also dead by the time I was 12.
Mm.
So, you know, now for the last 10, 15 years, there's been an era in which you've had the Frank Oceans, you've had Tylers, you've had, Jaden Smith, you've had black men who are presenting as queer or maybe cosplaying as queer or whatever,
Mhm.
whatever it is. You've had such a greater acceptance, but there is still, like you said, a binary. And every once in a while, even I have like a crisis of confidence, I guess you would call it, where I'm like, I wouldn't even say it's like a confidence thing. It's a frustration thing,
Mhm.
where I'm like, okay, queer means so many things. Black means so many things. We all have individual experiences as black people, as queer black people. Why are the representations so narrow?
Yeah.
And I don't have an answer to that, but it's continuously frustrating to me because, there are times if I'm in a room full of gay men, I don't feel like I'm gay enough.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
also don't necessarily feel like I have much in relation to these people other than our sexual orientation. So it's a really interesting conundrum. And I'm again like I'm not sure what the answer is. I'm not Mr. Hollywood. I can't write scripts where there's different representations of queer men, but it is kind of like people can be so narrow.
Mhm.
But the reality is that, we're all over the fucking rainbow. We all look, act, sound, have sex, do things differently.
Mhm. Yeah. There's literally, what, 7 colors in the rainbow or 8?
Something like
Like,
that.
so why isn't that, equal number of representations when it comes to not just the black queer male, but just black male in general? And I feel
Right.
like even the black male has become more, the expression has become more open and nuanced, and just like you go either the hard thug person, or you're the nerd, or there was another stereotype that I just literally lost my train of thought. But there's more of an expression, a fluid
Right.
expression of what the black male is. Then when it comes to the black queer male, it just feels like a shorter binary.
Right.
And yeah, we could be Mr. Hollywood. We could write something together to make
I
sure
mean,
we have more versions of what it means to be black and queer out in the world. But I also feel like that it's still going to be evolving. So even if we wrote something, they'll be like, "Well, I'm not represented here," and I'm like, "Well, it's your turn to write the next script. It's gonna
Right.
keep continue to evolve."
Exactly. And it's kind of like a lot of people complain whenever they don't see themselves represented in something.
Yeah,
But the reality is, you're not going to nail every
everything.
representation
You're not
in
going to.
one piece of art.
It's impossible.
And if you want to see representation, then you be the change you want to see. You put that into the world yourself.
Yeah, and that's why I started making my own songs because I feel like my musical journey started because I was hearing all these white queer pop artists making music that I related to, but I didn't see myself in those narratives, if that
Mm.
makes sense. It was like, yes, I love Sam Smith and love what they've done with their music. When I first heard their song, Leave Your Lover, I think. Yeah, it's like, leave your lover, leave him for me. I was like, oh, yes. Oh, there was so many stuff from their first album that I just was like, yes, yes, I feel all of this. Could I lay by your side? Yeah, all of it. It just hit like a ton of bricks because it was like,
Sure.
yes, someone singing in the style that I love, singing about a male love interest. It's like, yes, and even though they were trying to hide that for a while, and I'm proud of Sam for
Was Sam Smith ever? I don't know that Sam Smith was ever in the closet.
they weren't in the closet, but they were like kind of pushing that narrative until I think the third video.
Huh. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it was very much like, "Well, okay, what is Sam?" And then it was like we saw one of the love interests was a black guy. I think it was for that song "Leave Your Lover," and I was like, yes. But other artists like Troye Sivan, Haley Kiyoko, insert any other non-black queer artists, it was like they make great music, but the videos that I was seeing were just, besides that one video with Sam, they were just white queer couples, and I'm like, that's not my narrative.
Right.
So I want to write music that I could potentially have a black male love interest in my videos, and that's what I've been doing for the most part of my career, my journey. And with going back to the Late Bloomer song, that's why I was so intentional about having black queer writers in the space. I was like, I want not just my narrative, but what do y'all feel? What's your perspectives? And then when Yanni came in with the second verse and we kind of had a little sidebar about it, or side into it, I guess. I was like navigating these twists and turns, doing my best to give a serve. Am I good enough? Do I weigh too much? Talking about the body dysmorphia and the,
Oh yeah.
that kind of thing in there. If I give what was the last part of that verse? Am I good enough to way too much? If I give a little something, does it mean it's love? Like if we have sex, does it mean it's love? Because there's this such I have this such like boy imagination when it comes to love and what is like we had sex. Does this mean we're in love? Of course, I don't feel that way now because I'm grown up and I've experienced some things. But there's of course this little kid inside. I was like, oh my god, I just shared my body with him. Are we gonna be together forever?
I was there.
Yeah, I have that mindset. But that was one of the things that was kind of unraveling about the whole late bloomer thing because I didn't have sex till I was 24, and that's the first line of the song, by the way. Like I didn't have sex till I was 24. I was in this weird long distance sort of like dating thing with a guy, and I was like, well, are we together forever? Like what's happening? Like I don't know. But I was having those sort of thoughts and I wanted to jot that down and express those thoughts because I'm probably not the only person who's experienced that.
No.
And also that just spiraling of trying to figure out like, okay, I just had sex. I'm out in the world, but what now? Everything feels so new and strange, and I'm trying to figure out how do I fit into this world, this puzzle that is the homo world, the queer world. But yeah, that song in particular, that's my favorite just because of how it came together. Not the harmonic arrangements. I'm not trying to sound so proper. The harmonic arrangements, the harmony
Say it the way you want to
arrangements.
say it.
It just came out. The harmonic arrangements. I love in the beginning what I did because it's rare that sometimes when I think of an idea or jot an idea down and then it actually comes out to be what I thought in my head. So when I did it and then my master and mixing engineer Craig Levy, how we mixed that part. It was like, this sounds exactly how I thought I heard it. I was like, yes, thank you, thank you. But yeah, that song is my favorite, but it's also very embarrassing every time I perform it because when you're in a creative space, or you're creating whatever you're creating, you're in an echo chamber by yourself. And
Mm.
then so when you take it outside and you're just like, oh crap, I said that. Like, oh, I gotta sing that every time. Like I remember performing the song late boom for the first time. I was busking somewhere out of a train station in Jersey, and I said the line, "I didn't have sex till I was 24." And these older white ladies are walking by, they started cackling. And I was like, "Oh crap, this is embarrassing." Oh man, I can't believe it. And I was sweating profusely because I was like, it's like kind of like coming out again. And I was like,
Right.
I'm coming out every night. Or if I see myself on tour, I'm coming out every night. Like, oh, why did I write this? I know why I write it, but I was like, oh crap. Next time I'm in the booth doing something, let me think about, do I want to say this live forever?
I mean, you can only sing what you feel compelled to sing in that moment, or write what you feel compelled to write in the moment. And I think that when you put yourself out there like that, people appreciate the honesty in that.
Yeah,
Like, it's super vulnerable.
very.
But if part of what your mission is to give other people a safe space to exhibit that same kind of honesty and authenticity in their art or in their lives, then you're doing what you were put here to do.
Yeah, that's what I felt like I I want to do with just anything that I do artistically, or even just me as a person. So when you were talking about my album birthday release party, I feel like it was warm, and how you left singing Feliz Navidad, which is one of my favorite Christmas songs to sing. I love that I can know how to play it. Anytime I'm doing a Christmas gig or a holiday gig, I'm like, we gonna bust out that Feliz Navidad, that Jingle Bell Rock. I know how to play it, the Christmas song, I know how to play it. But that's what I want people to remember me by, I guess, is that I was very warm and I was receptive, and I gave you peace to just be who you are in that moment around me. Like, you don't have to put on air. You can be human. You can be human, because I often feel that I don't get that sort of permission to be a human, whether I'm having a great day, a bad day, midday, whatever. But I try to be the change that I want to see. Like,
See, yeah.
be warm and receptive to whatever you're feeling, and create that space that you can be whoever you are, but feel however you want to feel. Because I did an open mic actually in that same space for my birthday about a few days ago, and I was feeling very shitty, just been very stressed and chronically stressed, and it's affecting health and all that stuff. And I really just was not in the usual mood that people know me as. And I was like, hey, look, I'm here because I need to be here. I need to be in community. But this is who I am right now. Like, I'm not gonna be this super happy, jovial person that I'm having some moments right now. So I'm gonna
Mm,
sing the song. The song in particular was called Crossroads, that I put out on my second EP back in 2019. And it's about this very like fork in the road, very much crossroads. Like, should I stay? Should I go? What's going on with my life? I'm just feeling very exhausted. And I said before I started singing it, and I was like, "Hey, I just want all. I hope the song for those who feel like they can't acknowledge or speak about where they at in their life. Like, we're going through this weird, like, how would I say, tyrannical bullying, existential crisis with
yes.
the administration that's in
Yes.
office, and just
Yes.
everything around us. It's really hard trying to maintain your sanity at this point. We're not even 100 days into that man's presidency, and he's done so much damage, some of it irreparable damage.
Yes.
It's, for me, it's always hitting, but then to actually see some of it kind of hitting me in like my personal life, it was like, oh, okay. Like, I already knew that, obviously, because I didn't vote for the damn idiot. But it's more of the like, oh, so yeah, we're in real trouble. And for me, I felt very, very defeated, and I just needed to let that be known. And I allowed other people, I'm like, hey, if you're feeling that way, it's okay. We have to feel our way through. That's the only way we're going to get through it. And
That's
then
right.
that's how we take action. So yeah, that's what I try to do. I feel like with my putting my heart on the line, to be so dramatic, being vulnerable, I hope that other people feel that they can find that and within themselves, or if they're feeling disconnected from their humanity and vulnerability, that they can reconnect with it through my music and just experiencing me as a person.
I
That's a
love
goal.
that. I
That's a
love
goal.
that. And you got to keep putting yourself out there again, because over the last few years, it's really struck me how important modeling behavior is.
Mm.
If people see somebody living in a way that they aspire to, they need to see that it's possible for that to be done so they can then do it themselves.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, when I saw that there were people who lived their lives as openly gay men or openly bisexual men and were not, you know, were not outwardly showing shame or not hiding in the shadows and being their full selves. That's what gave me the braveness. That's what gave me the inspiration to be out myself.
Mhm.
When I saw people who were vocal about taking care of their mental health, that's what gave me the inspiration to take care of my own mental health. And not to make myself look or sound a certain way, but there are people who've told me that I've been an inspiration for them to follow their path in similar directions. So I feel like, particularly with everything going on in the country right now, everybody's like, what can I do? I can't save the world. But that's true. Nobody can save the world, but you start by being yourself and changing one or two people at a time, and that will always have a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Because it's like the two people that are like, wow, Ty said this, and that's so brave of him, and I want to do the same thing. That person is going to then make that change, and then two other people are going to see that, and then it just kind of like builds a groundswell from there.
Yeah, it's a domino effect. It's
Yeah,
definitely a domino effect. And people have told me too that just certain things that I've done with my life and how I live it has given them the inspiration and courage to do the same. And it's so weird for me because it's like when I was a younger teenage person who had this big ego, it's like, yes, I want to be this inspiring pop star that just lets people feel like they can conquer the world and be who they are, all that jazz. But me as an adult with, more secure ego and more empathy. And I've been around the block a little bit. It means so much more now when people say that to me. It's like, oh, wow. I'm like, baby, I'm struggling every day.
every day, every goddamn day.
Every day, honey, every day. So it's like, wait, for real? I inspired you? Oh, wow. Child, you made my day. You don't even know. Because it's a struggle to just do that every day. And I think I can speak for both of us. We have certain privileges as just being male presenting
Right,
and out that, wow, like, okay, yeah, we are who we are. And we're safe to kind of do that because at the end of the day, we have the black maleness that still intimidates fear. So it's like, yeah, you can try to come for us, but you scared. Whereas those who are the trans community or like they're just unfortunately looked at as weak and looked at as powerless, even though they are literally the stronger ones of the entire community.
right.
And it's just disheartening to witness and know that perception. But I'm like, look, I'm strong, but I ain't that strong. They are strong as hell.
And that's the thing. It's like if you look at that logically, right?
Hmm.
Think of everything that is against trans people in this, not just this country, but in this world.
In this world, yeah.
For you to have the courage to withstand all of that negative outside talk, potentially negative inside talk, all of
Hmm.
that stuff, and still be like, I'm going to be who the fuck I am regardless,
Yeah.
that is strength.
That is strength.
Yeah,
That is strength. And that's honestly where I draw my strength from to continue to be who I am. Knowing, of course, the history of Pride and really knowing that it would not have happened if it wasn't for Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, and the other trans femmes who were throwing the bricks at the police during the first riot. None of this would have happened without trans people. So to just disregard their experiences and just to kind of seeing how, from my generation's point of view, how cisgendered queer folk has kind of like co-opted the movements and turned it into what it is now. It's very interesting that kind of like there's just no honor for the trans person, the trans people, and when it comes to pride and stuff like that. But to just know if it wasn't for those women, those beings, we would not be here having this conversation right now.
right.
Because if they didn't throw that first brick, I don't foresee a black male doing it in that time. I didn't see that kind of happening, and just in my recollection. And they really built the foundations for us to be out and proud and to be who we are. So it's always up for the trans girls, always up for the trans people. It's always up for them because I'm like, we really wouldn't be here.
Right.
I draw the strength from them
And
to
I
make that
mean,
take
at the end
close.
of the day, it takes everybody. It
To
takes,
everybody, a village.
it takes gay folks, it takes bi folks, it takes trans folks, it takes cis folks, it takes allies,
It takes
it takes an entire village to make a movement happen.
it does.
And certainly all due respect to Marsha P. Johnson and people who participated in that Stonewall riot, and kicked off the queer liberation movement across the
Hmm.
country, across the world. But it does take everybody.
It takes everybody.
Yeah.
It takes everybody. But and I guess for me now, as far as how I move in the world as being a out black gay person, it's in conjunction with the music that I make is to continue to be open. I think with the album, it was definitely made out of stress and out of just trying to make ends meet and put things together. But the artistical intent was to satisfy my childhood self, but to also kind of like, hey, I'm owning the foundation of who I am as a person, as a black gay man. This is my memoir so far. And
Mm,
now I feel like whenever the next thing that I make, whether it's another song, album, whatever you want to call it, even other mediums of art, I feel that now that I have this foundation of knowing who I am, I can go bolder. I can go even deeper. There's just more wonder now. And like, okay, let me try this now. Let me try this. What about this? Oh, I don't really like that. I feel more open, which I also am grateful for my intersectional identity that I have both of these things, my blackness and my queerness. They're just infinite amounts of wonder and creativity and just it's just a beautiful spectrum to be on. And I just feel like I can do anything now. Honestly, I was like, once I put that album out, I was like, look, I've done a lot of things in my life. I went to NYU, I got my master's, I came out the closet. I've done many things in my life, but that for me personally was like, wow, I put this out myself. I produced it, except for one track that was produced by a colleague of mine. But I executive produced that because the first version of what he did was not great.
right.
But I really took the reins in just making that album what it is. And I feel very happy about it. I was like, wow, I really did that.
And that's not a small feat. Like to have the focus, to have the initial idea, I'm going to make music.
Hmm.
And then from there, write songs, release the album, do a show behind the album. All of these things are pretty involved tasks. It's
Yeah.
not like you just write 10 songs in a day. I mean, maybe there are people who do that,
There are
and
some
God
people
bless
who
those
do.
people.
And God bless them because that's not
Um,
me.
right. But to conceptualize that and then do the work
Hmm.
to accomplish it, and then to accomplish it, and then to put it out in the world, those are major, major things.
Yeah.
Those are accomplishments that, for every person that actually does that, there's probably 100 people who dream of doing something like that.
Yeah. No, that's the real. And besides being an artist and working in the label structure, just knowing how much, like on the grander scheme of things, how much it takes to really get albums out into the world, but also just artists being themselves and navigating that system. It's a lot. It's actually really a lot. So again, that's why I have so much respect for anybody who chooses to do it, but then does it well.
Right, right.
It's really hard to pull off, especially if you ain't got no money.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
very
again, it's one thing to have the idea, it's another thing to execute the idea.
yeah, it's another thing to do the execution. And for me, I have done execution well, even though sometimes I feel like I don't do enough. But I'm like, as
What's
far as
enough?
what's enough? And then again, you have to look at like you're a one person machine. You don't have a label. You're independent. So you are the boss. You are the label. You are the writer, the artist, the everything. And being able to pull that off with the help of outsourcing friends and actually paying other people, like outsourcing musicians and whatnot, and calling in favors and stuff like that. But putting it all together, like with this specific project, I was like, wow, I did that. Like I did it. And it sounds good. So it's not like I put it out and I might think it's trash, but it's like, no, it sounds good.
Give, give yourself flowers.
I
Give
do.
yourself your
Yeah,
flowers.
I do. And someone actually gave me flowers actually at my birthday
That's
show.
right. That is
Yeah.
right.
I didn't know who it was, but then I found out who it was, and I was like, "Oh, thank you for those flowers." Because sometimes it's hard to really pat yourself on the back because I don't say I struggle with it, but I used to look at patting myself on the back as an ego thing. But
Hmm.
it's like, nah, you really got to give yourself props because if sometimes you might not get that, you might not get the applause, or you might not get the flowers, but you have to be your own cheerleader.
Yeah.
You have to be like, hey, no, you did that. Like, hey, I got up this morning, I went on a run, and I cleaned my house. You did that. You have to do that because
Celebrate
So
your wins.
celebrate the wins because
Yeah.
even though small things like that, some people take that for granted. Where I'm like, some people wish they could do that because they may not be physically able or mentally able. They're
Right. They
just
might be very depressed and not even be able to get out of bed.
not a bed. So
You
it's
know,
like you got to celebrate the wins from the small to the big, and the album was a big win for me. So I just feel very, very grounded, and I would say at peace a little bit because even after it's been 4 months since I released it because I released it on my birthday at the end of last year, and I haven't felt compelled to do anything else. I'm just kind of sitting in it and like, yeah, it's there. Like,
when the time comes, you'll know.
yeah, but I feel more at peace about that instead of like looking to the next thing because I was always before the album looking to like I gotta create this, I have to make this album, I have to do this, do that. I just felt this very stressed like desire, kind of desperational thing to make this body of work. And now that it's here, it's like, oh, I can relax a little
I
bit.
did the thing.
I did the thing.
Yeah.
I did the album release party, which I also didn't think that was gonna happen, but then it became a thing. And I
Pulled it
did the
off.
thing. I pulled it off. I was like, I'll see y'all later.
Right? You pulled it off. People came out. You had a nice crowd.
Had a nice crowd.
Everybody sang.
Everybody sang.
And not only did it make me feel warm inside to hear Feliz Navidad, everybody got the words correct, which is
Yeah.
which is only gonna happen in like 3 or 4 places in this country. Mm.
No, you're right. Because I'm like, all right now, y'all better know the Spanish. Like, come on.
Everybody hit the Prospero Año y Felicidad.
Exactly. I was like, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Gracias.
yeah,
Gracias.
gracias, exactly, exactly.
No, but I
But
have some people nowadays who sing and they know, so it
yeah,
was good.
to go back to you when you were talking about giving yourself flowers, like it actually reminded me of something in my head. And for a long time, I was not very good at celebrating my wins. And I can point to a very specific instance. Like when I was a kid, I used to participate in spelling bees all the time.
I did
Uh,
too.
see, we here, Ty, we here. All
I did too.
right,
Continue.
and yeah, and I remember this might have been in like fifth grade, participating in a spelling bee. And well, I don't remember if I won or came in second or third or whatever it was. And people in school were congratulating me. And I'm 9 years old, 10 years old. I'm kind of like being like a little swelled head, like ego person. And my stepfather, not a nice man, kind of pulled me aside and was like, I, the message that he was trying to put across was be humble.
Mm,
But what I heard it as is when you are successful at something, don't show pride in your success. Don't outwardly show pride in your success. And, again, when you're 9 years old, you don't necessarily have I don't think any 9-year-old has the self awareness to be like, okay, this is what he meant. He didn't necessarily say it in a way that I could take it the way that it meant to be taken. But that feeling of, oh, I can't talk about my accomplishments sat with me for decades.
hmm
And I think now I'm kind of coming into a space where, like, I do want to talk about my wins. I do want to big myself up. I do want to like say, "Hey, I accomplished this," even if it's just, it's funny. I was with my family yesterday and we were having brunch and we were talking about another relative eh, d- whose life has not necessarily gone in a way that they would have liked.
hmm
And, there's a lot of stuff that they haven't worked through. And what I said in response was like, look, I've been through a lot of shit in my life, but I'm going to therapy and I'm working on myself. And this person probably needs to do the same thing. And even that sort of felt like, damn, Mike, are you just like unnecessarily bigging yourself up for working through your shit?
hmm
Like, is that like good? The things that you experience as a child will fuck your brain up for the rest of your
Yes,
goddamn
it
life,
will. Yes,
you
it
know.
will.
But, it really is important to, again, celebrate your wins. Even if you went outside and breathed air today and took a walk, that's something to celebrate.
Yeah,
If you cleaned your apartment, that's something to celebrate. Give yourself props for the things that you do.
yeah. No, it literally everything is a win, especially in these times. It's
Yep.
like you gotta really celebrate yourself because
Yep.
you have this real, tangible narrative, and just, or I'm gonna say just a narrative, but it just feels like a force, like this negative force that is being generated by the powers that be to silence, to depress you, to enforce like spiraling. It's a very negative force that's
Hmm.
out here. And the way that we can combat that is by celebrating ourselves.
Joy is an act of
Joy is
resistance.
an act of resistance. So gotta find that joy every day. Because
That's
happiness
right.
is fleeting, but that joy is everlasting.
I love that.
Ooh, that's my Southern Baptist coming out.
I love that. One thing you'd mentioned in the notes that actually I don't know if I ever got a vibe of this from you is performance anxiety.
Oh yeah. Oh
And I
God.
know you have like anxiety. But again, it's like recent. So again, yesterday I was with my family, and my cousin didn't make brunch because he was going to a fashion show, and then he was doing a concert afterwards. And his parents, I had brunch with them and my sister, and they were like, "Oh yeah, well he throws up before every show." And I'm like, "Okay, that's a high level of anxiety, like to not eat and then throw up before a show."
That's happened to me.
Wow.
That's happened to me.
Yeah.
I was doing I want to say a showcase. I was doing a showcase still in, it was closer to, it's like Bushwick borderline. It was off near Broadway Junction. And I was
Okay.
doing, and we were doing a showcase. And I actually had to end up hosting the showcase as well and singing and performing, basically doing Saturday Night Live duties. And I don't know what I ate like a waffle or something because they had chicken and waffles, I think, or something. And I don't know if it was a waffle or nothing, but I literally had to do both things in the bathroom on both ends.
Damn.
Because
Damn.
I was just rattled with
Show
nerves.
canceled.
Yeah, like literally, I would, but it was literally like 15 minutes before I had to go on. And I was like, yeah, the show must go on, which is such a toxic statement. It's such a toxic statement, but that's a whole other conversation.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was riddled and rattled with anxiety, and I was like, well, I have to perform. I'm the host. I have to start this off. So I ended up still nailing it and doing it. But people who knew me, they knew something was off my voice. I was like, well, yeah, I just threw up and literally like crapped the toilet at the same time.
Right.
So
Wow.
it's like, yeah, my anxiety has gotten to that extreme level at times, and even during a song on stage, I might have like a heart palpitation or something, or even though I'm supposed to be focused on singing, my brain will wander. I'm looking at somebody's face and they're disinterested and not really paying attention. So I'm just like, oh my god, do I suck? Do I suck? And then just something in my brain just will go straight to the negative, and it will be very hard to kind of get me back on track as far as being performance ready. But the performance anxiety, it kind of just bleeds into like my life because, like I said, even before coming on the podcast today, I was like, I'm just nervous because it's always the nerves come from wanting to be perfect. And perfect is a very, very general, broad ass word. But as far as like, I want to be good enough. I want to be good enough for Mike in the show. If I'm on a panel or something, I'm saying something that's insightful and meaningful. And even if I'm performing or doing a gig, I want to be good enough to where I'm like, yeah, you came and gave me your energy and your time, regardless if you paid money. But if you're giving me your energy, I want to be good enough. So it's that factor that makes me anxious on one end, and the other end is not being prepared enough.
Sure. Yeah. I
So
understand that.
so it's like a double-sided coin. I really want to be good enough for whatever this thing that I'm entering into the space, but also, am I prepared? Especially when it comes to these type of things, like speaking. It's like, oh God, am I smart enough? Have I lived life enough to be able to people want my perspective and or like not just podcasts but panels and stuff? Because I'm entering that space of my career and life now where I'm like, wait, I'm on a panel. I'm like, okay, what y'all want to know? I was like, because I like, my trajectory, it just feels like my journey to me has not feel like I've done enough to where people would want to listen to me, or I haven't done anything that's like, oh, I'm famous, or I gained enough notoriety, so to speak. So there's a lot of imposter syndrome that comes into
Right.
that bleeds into the anxiety, but just overall feeling like I'm not good enough, and that's where the belief thing I was telling you about, like believing in myself. Like I believe in myself to a certain fault. Like I know I am capable. I can sing. I can dance. I can do these things. I know how to do these things. Well, that is up to the other person on the receiving end.
Out of your control.
It's out of my control, and I don't like that. I don't like that I can't control that. I mean, of course, I can practice and rehearse and do all these things to my best of ability, but I have experienced that level of dedication, and then it was left on dead ears. Like I studied so hard, or I practiced so hard, and no one gave a shit. So there's this level of like, do I even want to devote that sort of devotion of honing my craft and being like this Beyonce like person, and the sacrifices of that did not breed the reward. So it's a lot of that imposter syndrome, not feeling good enough, and a little bit of lethargy, a little apathy sometimes
Sure,
that gets into
sure.
it, and belief in self. So it's a lot of that that comes into the performance anxiety for sure.
It's a really interesting like dichotomy is knowing that you can't control how other people perceive you, but wanting to control how other people
Yeah.
perceive you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm very much the same way. Objectively, there's a part of me that's like, I don't give a fuck. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're going to draw their own conclusions no matter what I do. But on the other hand, there's also a part of me that's like, why can't they see how intelligent, how capable, how articulate, how passionate, whatever the thing I'm doing is, how can they not see that?
Yeah.
And making that make sense in your head is not easy.
It's not. Such a fight. It's such a fight, and I know I have to rest in the fact I'm like, just be yourself. I know it's so easier said than done, but it's like, hey, this is as good as you're gonna get at this moment in time. You can't crash like whatever you're trying to crash into your body, like this performance routine or this lick or guitar lick or reading some profound book so you can try to sight read or quote it for an interview or whatever. You can't do it right now. All that stuff
Right.
before said thing that you're about to do. So it's like you just have to be yourself, and like it has to be good enough for the moment. And I've been doing my best to lean into that phrase, but it's very hard. It's
It
very,
it
very
really
hard
is.
because I'm like, no, because I think it could be so much more. And then like you had that whole spiral of like, well, I want to be more, but then I don't want to do the work right now because life is lifing, and this is all I got.
Right.
And that sort of back and forth. It's such a thing that I actually am going currently through with therapy, like trying to make sense of that dichotomy. But for now, I've rested into the fact I'm like, this is as good enough as I can get, and it has to be enough. It has to be enough. There's nothing else I can do in this
Yep.
moment, right? And then
We
right now, like before we clicked today on here, I was like, I can't do anything else. Like I told them my talking points, and this is what I think we can talk about, and whatever comes up comes out. But that has to be enough. I have nothing else.
our abilities at any given time are finite.
Yeah. Ooh, come on.
I mean, it's real.
It's
Like
real.
can't do everything, can't be everything to everybody.
You can't. And that has been such a lifelong struggle for me of just wanting to be everything for everybody and not enough for self. Wanting to be the best performer, whether it's a job space or performance space, wanting to be the best friend that I could be, the best lover, the best partner, best son, brother, family member, insert whatever cousin thing. And it's like, but you can't be everything to everybody. You got to be enough for yourself
All
first.
you can do is be the best Ty McKinnie that you can be at whatever given time.
And that's gonna be different every damn day.
Right. And if that's not enough for whoever, parent, cousin, job, whatever, that's on them and not on you.
And that's on them, not on me.
Yeah. So,
Thank you for
uh,
saving me a therapy session.
I mean,
You
I
are a
do
life
what
coach.
I do what I can.
You are a life coach. So this is in your territory. But this is funny because I was like, this is definitely like what I've been talking about in therapy. I'm trying to be everything to
Think
everybody, not enough
everybody.
to self, and it's like, man, my best is not what I feel like I could perform as is like performance level. I ain't there yet, and I don't feel like striving to be there right now because right now we need to coast a little bit.
Right.
We
Right.
don't need to work as hard because I feel like there's seasons where I'm like, yeah, work hard, study, do the thing, whatever it is that you're honing your craft, whatever that is, like, yeah, do the thing. But also, you have to live and you have to just rest. Like,
You have to
you just
live.
have to.
Sometimes you got to sit on your ass.
You got to sit on your ass. So yeah, I've been sitting on my ass for a minute. And then this time period, I have been wrestling with those sort of questions of just like, okay, why do you feel like you need to do so much? Why do you feel like you have to do this? Why can't you just be enough for yourself? It's like, ooh, mm.
It's like focus off of being a people pleaser and focus on being a Tyrie pleaser.
And that is why one of the songs off the album, Second Place,
People
that
pleaser.
is People
Don't
Pleaser.
you
That
don't
I
you have a
heard.
song called People Pleaser? Or am
Well,
I
it's
thinking of something else?
no, Second Place is about
Okay.
that's
All
what
right,
it's called,
all right,
but it's
okay.
about being a recovering people pleaser. And I had one of those coming to Jesus moments where I'm like, I'm giving so much of myself to these people, insert whoever, family, friends, lovers, work, and expectations, because expectations can also be a thing that you're people pleasing for. And I was making myself sick, and it was like, you got to choose from now in this moment, you or them. And
Mm-hmm.
I never was put myself in that position because it was always them over me, because it was a survival thing. I thought, if I'm not well liked, then I'll be discarded. And then I learned very quickly that that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because you can still be discarded even
Yep.
if you're well liked.
Yep.
So once that kind of hit the nail on the head, and it not hit the nail on the head, it kind of like the ship went under, and I had to swim from that sort of shipwreck. I was like, okay, yeah, no, enough of this shit, enough of this shit. Nah, nah,
Everybody comes to that realization sooner than later.
yeah. And I'm now in
Sooner or
the
later.
yeah, I'm now in the aftermath of it, because I've had my still, like, recoil, like, habits, old habits die hard, of like,
Yes, they do.
still try to put people first more so than myself. And I was just like, nah, I'm hitting that space again, where it's like, yep,
I'ma
y'all,
do me.
I'm gonna do me. Y'all do you. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do me. That's a song. I can't remember who's the rapper, but it's a rapper. You just do you. I'ma do
I'ma do
me.
me. Yep.
So yeah, so that's basically where I'm kind of sitting at now, is the sitting with self, really finding the joy that I can, whether it's big joy, small joys, but finding the joy in every day. And yeah, just sitting with self, and just truly being in community with other people, and learning that community is not you just pouring, and you never getting it back. Sometimes you have to be in the act of receiving, because I've always been the act of giving, and I have to practice being in the act of receiving. Like, oh, somebody would like to help you, or somebody would like to, like, actually hold space for you, and actively listening, not just listening to respond, but like, oh,
Right.
let's talk. Like, what's going on with you?
Well, it should be reciprocal.
Yeah, it should be reciprocal.
Huh.
And I'm learning that in real time. Like, I'm learning that, oh wow, this is community is supposed to be reciprocal. Like, friendship is supposed to be reciprocal. Of course, we know in the dating space, and relationships, sex space, whatever, it's supposed to be reciprocal, but still navigating that dance. So it's been a very interesting winter, I would say, because we're now feeling like we're finally getting spring.
Spring. But
But yeah.
that's some crazy shit though. I've been thinking about the apps,
Hmm.
and the way that gay men in particular, queer men, gay and
Hmm.
bisexual, whatever men, the way that men who date other men date,
Hmm.
and how like how messed up it is.
It is. It's very messed up.
Right.
That's why I'm not on them.
Right.
Because I
Right.
realized how transactional it was. I realized, and not saying that no one can't find love or friendship on those apps, because it's definitely possible. It's just that it felt that sort of goal felt far and few in between,
Yeah. That's
in my personal
100%.
experience.
100%. I
Uh,
mean, two people's experience at least.
Yeah, a few people's experience. So
Yeah.
it's just like, for me, I was like, man, let me just find my dude in real time. Let him just come get me at the grocery store. I'm short. He's tall. I'm trying to get something at the top shelf. He see me struggling. He trying to help. We lock
Can,
eyes. Boom. And
can I help you with that?
can I help you with that? Like, look, let that just be what it is. Because the trying to do the whole social media stuff, like, if you even connect with guys on social media, not just like the actual hookup dating apps thing, is I connected with a couple guys on TikTok and Instagram, and
Look
that
at
was,
you.
I mean, they're not in my life as of now, because they came and
Well,
went, but I can see the possibilities of connecting with people on there as well. But it just feels also in that same vein, they just know the picture, or what I present myself on social media. And again, I'm an artist, so I'm always like, in a likable state. I'm never posting something that is despondent, or if I'm despondent, it's still going to be artistic, if that makes sense.
Right.
So you're not getting the full spectrum of who Ty McKinney is. Like, you're not getting Tyrie, which is what Ty is short for. You're not getting Tyrie unless you actually have spoken to me in a public setting. And even then, sometimes you're not getting the full spectrum because I don't know you like that. It's like we got
Mm.
to get to know each other before I can invite you in to my heart and my spirit. So the thing that I was encountering with that is that people thought of me as this thing, and then they were getting to know the not so becoming parts of myself, the
Which we all
avoidant,
have.
which we all have. Like, but
Right.
it's just interesting with knowing how this when I was meeting these guys on social media, how they had this perception of self. Like, they knew me as an artist, and some of them saw me live, and they were just like, thought I was fine and all this stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, let me get in a little groupie or something like that. And then they got to know the full spectrum of me and the stuff that I'm still working through, the not so good parts. And I think I shattered an image of them, of their
That
perception
they
of me,
had of you.
that they
Yeah.
had of me. And it was funny in hindsight because I was like, wow, so this must be what celebrities feel like all the time. They're like,
It really
oh,
is.
like I'm a normal person besides what I do for a living. Like, yeah, I'm not perfect at all, but this sort of pedestalistic thing that fans do. Not saying that these were people who were just fans of me, but it's just like on social media, like you can be a fan of a person and they're not a artist. They can just like, oh, I just think they're so attractive or they're so funny and stuff like that. And then you meet them in person and you have a conversation. And I felt this way on the other side where I met somebody on social media. I was like, oh, we're not compatible. I won't always say what I was about to say because that's very mean. What I was about to say, I don't need to do that because grace. But there's some things I was just like, oh yeah, you are very pretty. You are very pretty, and that's
And
all we're gonna
sometimes
say.
that's it.
That's all we're gonna. You are very pretty. You are deliciously handsome, and that's it.
What people put out into the world via social media or anything that's predicated around image
Hmm.
is just a portion of who they really are. It's the portion of who they are that they want you to see.
Right. Yeah.
But there's a whole other half or part or whatever it is
That's
that
all.
doesn't exist in videos or online or whatever.
Hmm.
And when we interact with other humans, when we want to become close to other humans, we have to take the total of their humanness.
Yeah.
And you know sometimes that's a lot of good shit, but I think even in the best case scenario there's going to be some bad shit
There's gonna be some bad shit
or difficult shit,
or
not
difficult
necessarily
shit.
bad shit.
It's not gonna be perfect.
Right.
That's a human that you're looking at, not a product, not an actor. Whatever that is. A whole, behind that profile, there is a human, and that's why I feel like with the whole dating apps and everything, just the apps, whatever, social dating, whatever, it's like you only get to see so much. You got to be in person to
A
kind of really
tiny bit. You're
tiny bit.
seeing 500 characters.
500 characters. You're seeing only the good sides. Literally
Hmm.
only seeing that one good, because people love their angles and stuff like that. So you're only
Yes.
seeing this side. You're not getting the full picture. You're not, and yeah, I feel like that's what something that our generations, because all of our generations are doing this to certain, so to speak, as far as just connecting with other people. It's like we got to do better with the in person stuff, like
Hmm.
because the apps can only do so much. Like you got to actually touch the person, see the
See
person,
them, interact with
interact
them,
with them.
get a sense of chemistry. Because
Yeah.
online chemistry and real time
And
chemistry are
it's
two
so
different things.
different.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was the big thing that's what was the downer of those interactions. So I'm like, okay, yeah, we can create chemistry online. Like we can do whatever we want. We can do stuff online. We can
Right.
literally create whatever we want. But then in person, you can't fake it. You can't fake chemistry in person. If you got it, you got it. If you don't, you don't.
Don't you don't.
And yeah, that was some real shit. And I was like, wow, I do not connect with this person, or this person is not connecting with me. I'm like, oh, I'm giving it, and they is just not here for it. And it is what it is. It sucks.
Gonna do.
But yeah, yeah. So like I said, I'm gonna just find my dude at the grocery store, or I'm gonna find him somewhere. Maybe in the run club I run now. So maybe that'll happen. I don't know. We'll see. But as far as being open to the in person meetings? Yes.
It can happen wherever.
It
And
can happen.
you have to be open to whatever the universe has for you, has in
Yeah.
store for you.
Yeah. And I'm trying my best to be open because I'm very closed off. I realize I'm a very closed off individual when it comes to the romance part. I'd want it, but I understand now the responsibilities of partnership and dating. And sometimes I'm like, I think I can do it, and then when I meet somebody who wants to do it, I'm like, no, you stress me out. I can't do it.
I mean,
It's
it
like,
doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you can't do it the way that they want you to do it.
and also I'm learning that too. It's like, oh, I don't have to say yes to you just because you asked me out. I don't have to do that.
Right.
So that's again things that I'm learning in real time, and I'm like, oh, I don't have to do that. I'm still a late bloomer. I'm still learning like how to navigate that space, the dating space. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you may find me attractive, but I don't necessarily have to date you just because no one's asked me out on a date. I can say no, and also listen to my gut. If you know you're not really into that guy, don't go out with that guy.
Trust your instinct.
Trust your instincts because it's telling you what you already know. You just gotta really lean into that. And
That's
that
right.
that has also been a trying process, but you live and you learn. But
That is exactly right.
but
It's
hey, we doing it.
we doing it. I got to give one more shout out to the warmth that Ty created that night at his album release show. It was it's burned in my head, right? It's December, I'm stressed out. It's a few weeks after the election. Um, a little depressed, just sort of not feeling like myself. And I went to this release party and I hung out. And at the end of it, everybody sings Feliz Navidad. And I'm not going to lie, it was the first holiday spirit that I'd felt all season. So thank you again, Tyrie, for giving me that feeling, for putting me in a situation where I could feel that level of warmth because I really, really needed it for my mental health at that time. And thank you for just being an amazing human. I love when we converse, whether it's for this podcast or not for this podcast. If you are interested in knowing more about Tyrie, please follow him on Instagram at Ty McKinnie. That is TymcKinnie. His album Tyrie is out now. You can stream it on all platforms. My personal favorite song is called Smile, but it's just a great autobiographical, I can't speak, autobiographical singer-songwriter album with soul. Thank you again, Ty, for being so vulnerable and sharing your story through your music and on this podcast. I appreciate you, my friend. I really do appreciate all of my guests who come into these conversations as the most authentic versions of themselves. And I've said it in a bunch of episodes now how I think authentic is starting to become an overused buzzword. But I really, really do think that the folks that I speak to, and certainly me as the host or facilitator, or however you want to put it, try to bring our most authentic, best selves into this podcast. I thank you for listening. If you are listening and enjoying, that means you are on a journey of some sort as well, and I'm happy to be on this journey with you. Once again, you can follow me on social media if social media is your thing. I am DetoxPodguy on Instagram. I'm also at Mike Joseph Coaching on Instagram. I do have a coaching business, life and relationship coaching. You can, again, find me on the socials there. You can find me on my Substack, mikejoseph.substack.com. And if you want to subscribe to the Detox Pod, you'll get episodes a week early. Subscriptions on Patreon are as low as $3 a month. You can go to bit.ly/detoxpod plus. Thank you again for listening. I really, really do appreciate it.